All right. Hello, South Belton Middle School community. My name is Kevin Taylor. I'm the principal at South Belton Middle School, and I want to welcome you to our Tiger Camp for new students, mostly our sixth graders, and for our new parents as we get ready for this new school year. We want to make sure you're familiar with everything that is South Belton and introduce you to some differences between elementary school and middle school. Our agenda for today, there will be 30 minutes to learn important information about South Belton during this presentation. I'm going to include a link to a video in the email that I send to you with this video. There will be another video to watch that introduces students to our processes and procedures that we have on campus, and you'll notice that we have included our safety and health items in those videos as well, so students will see our teachers wearing masks and using hand sanitizer, all the things we're going to ask them to do. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do the Q&A session, but if you do have questions, you can email me, and I'll provide my email at the end of the presentation. I would suggest you write them down and then just email me your questions, and we will get back to you just as quickly as we can. I want to introduce to you our leadership team. Like I said, my name is Kevin Taylor. I am the principal here at South Belton Middle School. I'm in my 25th year of education, my 20th year in Belton ISD, and my 10th year at South Belton. So I've been at South Belton since the doors opened. I'm a father of 5 and a grandfather of 2 lovely granddaughters. Helping me as part of my leadership team is Mrs. Amanda Necessary. She is the assistant principal for students with the last name of M through Z. She's in her 19th year in education, her 4th year here at South Belton, and her 11th year in BISD. She's a busy mom of 2 boys, and she loves that Aggie football. Hopefully they'll be able to play that season this year. And Mrs. Veronica Russell, she is our other assistant principal. She is for students who have last names of A through L. She's in her 13th year in education, her 2nd year at South Belton and in BISD. She has a lovely daughter, and she is a devoted New Orleans Saints fan. Mr. Deacon is one of our counselors. He is for students in the alphabet A through L, last names. 29th year in education, with all 29 of those years happening here in Belton. It's his 10th year at South Belton as well. He helped us open the building, and I'll bet at least one of you watching had Mr. Deacon as a teacher when you were in school. Vicki Smith is in her 28th year of education, and all of those years here in Belton ISD. She is our counselor for students M through Z. Again, her 10th year in South Belton Middle School. She describes herself as the biggest math geek ever. She attended Southwest Texas State. She will not call it Texas State. She calls it Southwest. And she grew up as an Army brat, 7 schools in 14 years. And I hope that all of our students coming from military families know that you can reach out to Miss Smith if you'd ever like to talk to her about anything that is affecting you because you're a military family member. Also part of our leadership team is Mrs. Robin Burney. She is our instructional coach. It's her 18th year in education, 5th year at South Belton and in Belton ISD. She has 2 lovely daughters. She's a Longhorns fan and a Texans fan. And if you have questions about anything instructional, such as assignments, teachers, testing, anything instructional in the classroom, Miss Burney is the go-to person for that. All of us can be reached if you dial our main number at 215-3000. Our receptionist, Miss Gaskamp, will put you in touch with us. Talking about a little history with South Belton Middle School, we are in our 10th year this year. We were the 3rd of the 4 middle schools in Belton to come online. We were the first secondary school in Belton ISD to have a one-to-one initiative where each student had a device that they took with them to each class and then took home with them. Until last year, we used iPads. This year, we'll begin using Chromebooks like every other secondary school in the district. Our enrollment is going to be just under 600 students. If you had students here previously, you'll know that last year we were over 900 students, so it's quite a shrink. And then this year it looks like about 400 students will begin the year attending in person, and we've got about 200 students who are going to begin the year using online instruction. Our elementary schools that feed us are Chisholm Trail and Southwest Elementary School. We have almost 100 teachers and support staff that are working hard to get the school ready and make things work for your child and for you this school year. We are an AVID campus. Now, AVID stands for Advancement Via Individual Determination. That is part of who we are as a campus. It is also the title of one of our elective courses. So we have an AVID elective, but we are going to use the strategies that the AVID organization recommends in our classrooms. AVID is a program that helps get students ready for college so that when they have to make that choice, what they're going to do after high school, they know that college is a viable option. And what we do with them here on campus is going to really teach them how to learn so that they're ready to learn at the collegiate level. And if you want more information about AVID, you can give us a call. Ms. Burney would be a good point of contact for that, or Ms. Patrick, our AVID elective teacher. All right, here's what you can expect from us, the leadership team, and as a campus. First of all, the health and safety of your student is our #1 job. That is our priority. We know that this is a scary time and we're coming back in the middle of a pandemic. We want to make sure that we're doing things right on campus to keep our people healthy, keep our teachers healthy, keep our students healthy, because we know that education is best done face-to-face when we're in the building. And we know that there are some special circumstances going on right now that prevent that for a lot of people. But we're going to institute a lot of items this year, a lot of procedures that will give us the best chance of all staying healthy. You can expect us to be firm, fair, and consistent. We are going to be fair with your students. We are very flexible. We do talk to students and investigate things when something's not going right at school. And we want to make sure we're doing right by all students involved. We're going to be firm. We have expectations. We do need students to meet those expectations. How we might get to those expectations could look very different from one student to another. But we are going to have students meet those expectations. And we're going to be consistent when we have something go on at campus. We are going to be consistent in our response. I mentioned flexibility, but we are flexible. Every student has a different life that they're living, and things don't always happen the same for every student. So our response can't always be the same. Like I said, we want to get all students over the finish line. How we get there may look very different for each student. You can expect communication from us. You're probably watching this video as a result of an email that I sent, and you can expect emails to come out with updates from us. But if you're not getting communication that you need from campus, from anyone, whether it's a teacher or an administrator here at campus, please give us a call. Our front office number again is 215-3000. You will be directed to the principal's secretary to schedule an appointment if you need to talk to someone, and we will get back to you just as quickly as possible. We do have expectations for students. I want to talk about the first 3 altogether, and they are to be safe, to be respectful, and to be responsible. These are the things that we ask students to do everywhere on campus. Now, it does look very different in different parts of the campus. What is safe in an athletics class during first period in the gym is very different than what's safe in a science lab during third period in a classroom. So we want to explain to students what being safe, respectful, and responsible looks like in each different setting. And our teachers will work hard to make that happen and educate our students on that throughout the first few days of school so that students know exactly what's expected of them. We do expect students to abide by our dress code. The dress code is included in our parent-student handbook, which is posted on our beltonisd.net website. If you go under the Students and Parents tab, there will be a link to the student parent handbook, and I believe it's on page 47, but there is an indexed table of contents. So if you find it in the table of contents, you click on that and it'll take you to the right page. We do expect students to be present and on time for class, whether they are at school learners or whether they are remote learners or online learners. We do want them to be in their classes at the assigned time. We'll talk more about what that means for our remote learners in a second. We do know that students carry cell phones, and we ask that they have them turned off during class time. We do allow students to use their cell phones during lunch periods. We also ask parents that you're not texting or calling students during class time to get messages to them. Please take note of what time they will go to lunch based on our schedule. We'll show that in a few minutes. And refrain from calling them or texting them during the school day. If you have a message you need to get to them, you call our front office, 215-3000, and we will get the message to them in their class. We do expect students to comply with our rules and procedures, and we spend a lot of time explaining to students why we have our rules and why we have our procedures. We don't just do it because we like to enforce rules and procedures. There are specific reasons why we have those rules and procedures for school. So we do expect students to comply with all of those. We also want students to report unacceptable behavior. We want this to be a safe fun experience for students in middle school. And we know that sometimes inappropriate behavior happens. When it happens, if there's anything ever that makes a student uncomfortable or they see it as unsafe, we really need them to report it. Teachers will be educating students on the different ways to do that. Of course, you can report it in person to any adult on campus. You can come to the office and report it. Or there is an anonymous alerts app, which will be on the student's Chromebook, and they will be able to log in and make reports of any unacceptable behavior anonymously, or they can leave their name. And that app allows us to communicate back and forth with students so that we can ask them questions to clarify so we can get to the bottom of the situation. We also have expectations for parents. Parents, we want you to ensure good attendance, getting your students to school on time every day. We know that when we can't teach them if they're not with us in one way or another, whether that's online or in person. We need you to bring your ID to school anytime you're coming up to drop something off or to pick up a student, and also make sure you're wearing a mask when coming into our building. We want you to abide by our visitor policy. We'll tell you right now, we're not allowing visitors in the school building. That's a big change from last year. I know that lunchtime is a popular time to come and sit down with your child and eat, but because of space and social distancing, we're definitely not allowing that, and we're limiting the number of visitors on campus to mission essential visitors. We ask you to support us, ensure that your students are in compliance with that dress code and are prepared for school each day. And if you've got questions about what that means, after students meet with teachers, and after this, if you don't know, please give us a call and ask us. If you're not hearing from us often enough and you think there's information you need, please give us a call. We encourage you to do that. We are very responsive, we think, to our community. We do have Spanish-speaking staff members as well. So please, if you're a Spanish speaker, please feel free to give us a call, and you can ask for Alma and she will help you out. We do want you to follow our arrival and dismissal procedures in order to be safe. We'll talk about those in detail in a minute. And please don't call or text during the school day. And then we ask you to be involved. We had a very good PTA through last year, and a lot of our PTA members graduated, and some of them moved over to Belton Middle School. And so we have a lot of opportunities in PTA to get involved and lead there. So if you have experience or you're just interested in being in PTA, please give us a call and let us know, or drop me an email. All right, the big thing this year is COVID, of course, everybody knows that. And these are the health and safety precautions that we're going to employ this year to help make your students safe. First of all, we're going to reduce transitions during the school day. So we have moved to what's called a modified block schedule. So instead of having 8 classes in a day plus their lunch, students have only 5 classes each day and their lunch. And that reduces the amount of times that they have to change classes and be exposed to each other in the hallways. We are going to require social distancing in our hallways, classrooms, and common areas, and we're going to work hard to educate students on that. For those students who are remote learners, there is an opportunity to get breakfast and lunch from the school. And remember that our campus is a community eligibility program campus, which means that every student on our campus, regardless of their income level, is afforded free lunch and breakfast. So it is free for everyone. Grab and go breakfasts are for those students who are remote learners. And if you have several remote learners from elementary and middle school and even high school, you can pick up all of the meals for those students right here at South Belton Middle School. This will happen in the front of our school by the flagpole. Breakfast is served from 7:30 to 8, and lunch will be served 12:30 to 1. Students and staff will be wearing masks, and staff members will space students out as much as possible in the classroom. Masks are mandatory during the school day, and then we will try to work in times when students will be able to take mask breaks, and that would have to happen usually outside or in situations where there is at least 6 feet between all students. Increase hand washing and hand sanitation on our campus. There will be sanitizer and washing stations. 2 big giant stainless steel sinks will be available for students when they come in, either off the bus or come in from the front of the building. And then hand sanitizing stations, we have, I think, 15 of them total throughout the campus, as well as soap and water in our restrooms. And then teachers will have hand sanitizer at each classroom door. When students arrive for each class, the teachers will greet them and give them a squirt of hand sanitizer as they come into the classroom. Our custodians are working hard to sanitize daily, and then we will do deep cleaning on Wednesdays. Now, during our first 4 weeks of school, we are in a special situation where we are taking Wednesdays as a planning day, and teachers will be working from home on that day. And that's when our deep cleaning will happen here on campus after all the staff members are out of the way. There will be soap and paper towels stocked in restrooms constantly. We'll increase the amount of times that we check that throughout the day so we don't ever run out of either of those items. So students will have the opportunity to wash their hands in the bathrooms every time they go. Adults are self-screening before they report to work every day, and we ask that students self-screening before the beginning of the day. So parents, we want you to talk to your students about how they're feeling each day, and our teachers will do the same during that first period just to make sure that everyone's healthy. If students do show signs or symptoms of COVID, we will refer them to our nurse for further evaluation. But our adults are self-screening every day to make sure that they're not coming to work with any symptoms of the COVID virus. And we are going to educate students about stopping the spread of the COVID virus as well. Instruction will look a little bit different this year. First of all, we want to keep it as close to normal as possible. Well, what is that anymore in 2020? Normal is not really normal anymore. We are going to have those increased health and safety protocols in all areas. Technology will be our main instructional tool. So students are being issued a Google Chromebook, and they'll use that Chromebook for all of their assignments. Inside the Chromebook or on the internet, they'll be able to access what's called Schoology. Schoology is an app that our teachers use. It is our learning management system. Students will use it as well. That's where teachers will upload their instructional activities, their videos of instruction, anything that students need to do or will be doing during that class period will be uploaded into Schoology. So we're trying to reduce the amount of paper, even for students who are in person, because we don't want to be transferring any papers back and forth. So things are going to be loaded into Schoology and then submitted through Schoology as well. Our remote learners and our in-person learners will be engaged at the same time. We encourage our remote learners to look at their schedule in Skyward, and then we'll provide that schedule of the daily schedule to students, and we expect students to be online to engage while they would be doing it if they were in person, but they would just be doing it from home. Talk about these two words that have become part of our vocabulary this past 6 months: synchronous and asynchronous. So synchronous instruction is when students are engaged all at the same time in a particular activity, whether they're remote learners or whether they're in person. They're all doing that activity at the same time. That can look very different. One easy example of synchronous instruction is if the teacher is teaching the class here in the classroom, and she is running a Zoom, and students that are remote learners are also in the Zoom involved in that lesson all at the same time. Asynchronous would be more like if the teacher conducts the class and makes a video of that class and then posts the video, the student watches that video, not necessarily during the same class period, but maybe later in the day. And we know that all situations are different at home with our remote learners. We know some of our remote learners during the day when mom and dad are at work are going to have to take care of siblings, and then they're not going to be able to engage in their classwork until later on in the day or in the evenings. That will affect our attendance. Students who are logged on and engaged at the same time that we're doing it in person on campus will be counted present if they're in person, and remote present if they're online at the same time at home. But if they're not online at home at the same time we're doing the class, they get counted present by engaging in that class sometime before 11:59 p.m. So they've got up until midnight to engage in that class and get the work done before we actually count them absent from school. Our remote learners, I think I skipped this one. Our remote learners are going to log in to learn through Schoology. And so students are going to need to get into that Schoology app on their Chromebook. And that's where all the teachers will put all the links to everything that they need. Our athletics students for 7th and 8th grade, not pre-athletics, but athletics and fine arts for our remote learners. We do encourage our remote learners, if they want to perform in fine arts, or if they want to participate in the games for athletics, then they have to attend all of the practices, the before and after school practices for athletics. And then we highly encourage them to come for those practices and then stay for the class period for athletics so that they get the maximum benefit out of the athletics program. For our fine arts students, that's orchestra, choir, and band, we encourage students to come at the right time for their scheduled band, orchestra, or choir classes. We know that remote learners, in order to participate in any concerts that we put on later on, they'll need to participate in all those practices. And we'll talk about our block schedule. Our modified block schedule is very different from last year. Last year we had students attend 8 different classes throughout the school day. Again, to reduce the amount of transitions, we changed to a modified block schedule, and this is what it looks like. We have broken the schedule down into 2 types of days, A day and B day, and we will rotate. The first day of school is going to be A day. Second day will be a B day. A day, B day, A, B, A, B, as we go throughout the school year. So on an A day, you'll see that students are going to attend 5 classes on A day, and they'll attend 5 classes on B day. There are 2 classes on each day that happen on both days. Those classes will meet for 50 minutes, and that's first period, you'll see that's on A and B day, and 8th period on A and B day. What we have done is we've moved our beginner fine arts students into these first and 8th period classes, and we have our athletics periods for 7th and 8th grade students, 1st and 8th period. And that allows us to see the students every day, and it's very important for development in those programs. There are UIL rules that limit the amount of time that students can actually practice in a UIL activity each day for athletics. So going more than 50 minutes for athletics doesn't make sense, because that time would not be able to be used working out or practicing. So we have those meeting every day. And then our beginning band, orchestra, and choir students, we want them to have exposure to that teacher every day, and that's very important for the development of their skills in that area. All the other periods are 50 minutes long. So on A day, we'll go to first period, then to second period, then we'll go into third period. During third period, this is when we will have our lunch periods. Third period for 6th grade, they will report to their third period class. Those teachers will walk them to lunch. They will enjoy lunch, and then they will go back to their class to do the instruction. For our 7th graders, it's broken up. They will go to third period and report for class. Teachers will teach for the first 45 minutes. Then they will break and go to lunch. Then they will come back and pick up the instruction after lunch. Our third period for 8th graders, they will go to third period and they will finish that class. At the end of that 100-minute block, they will go to their 4th period class, where they will drop off their items. The teacher will walk them to lunch. They will enjoy lunch, and then they will return to that class for 4th period instruction. Then we'll finish the day with 8th period, and you'll see that we dismiss at 3:45. Much the same on B day, except they attend 1st, 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th. So A day is 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, and B day is 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. So where do students go on the first day of school, and where will they go each day of school? It's important that students know that, first of all, we open the doors to the campus at 7:30. So parents, we do not supervise students before 7:30. Our day runs from 7:30 to 4 o'clock, and we do not start supervising students before 7:30. So we do not want you to drop students off prior to 7:30. There are 2 important times, and I'll show you in the schedule. The doors open at 7:30. From 7:30 to 8:05, students will be served breakfast in the cafeteria. The advisory begins at 7:40. We'll talk more about what that means in a second. And our tardy bell rings at 8:10. So students are not late to school unless they arrive after 8:10. And then these are our lunch times. Generally, A lunch is for 6th grade students. B lunch is for mostly 7th grade students, and C lunch is for mostly 8th grade students. Although B and C lunch could be mixed depending on the elective choices that students made. Some of our electives include 7th and 8th grade students learning together, and so that affects which lunch period they're able to attend. Let me go back to that map for a second. So at 7:30, our buses will start to arrive in the back of the building, back here where you see my mouse. Students will enter through this door, and they will proceed down the hallway here. At this point, they make a decision. Do they want breakfast or do they not want breakfast? If students do not want breakfast, then they will turn right here into the gym and they will wait right here in the bleachers. Socially distanced in the bleachers, and if we run out of space, then on the floor while they're waiting for the first period bell. For the advisory bell. If they get to this corner and they decide, yes, I want to go to breakfast, they turn the corner, they go past the library, past the staircase, up the hallway, past the band hall, and down into the cafeteria for breakfast. The breakfast line runs right up here, this hallway, and there will be dots on the floor that show them where to stand in a socially distanced line. If a student is walking to school, riding a bike to school, or being dropped off by car, they will be dropped off in the front of the building by the flagpole. They will come in the front door right here. They will get to this corner and they will make a decision. If they come in between 7:30 and 7:40, do they want breakfast or do they not want breakfast? If they want breakfast, they will proceed past the library and then to the cafeteria for breakfast. If a student decides they don't want breakfast, then they will proceed to the gym and have a seat either in the bleachers or on the floor of the gym. At 7:40, our bell rings, and that allows students to go to their first period classroom. It's before first period, so we call that advisory. It's like a homeroom, but it'll be their first period teacher where they go. If a student comes in after 7:40, they will come in the front door or the back door, and then they get to this corner, they'll make a decision. Am I going to class or am I going to breakfast? Once they make that decision and go to class, they're not allowed to turn around and go to breakfast. They have to make that decision first. So between 7:40 and 8:05, they will proceed to their first period class. At 8:05, the bell will ring. There should be very few students in the hallway during that change period, but that alerts their students that are still outside and heading to school that, hey, you got 5 minutes to get to class. So they will make sure they get to their first period class. Now, students that arrive and eat breakfast, after they finish eating breakfast, they will have a seat on the other side of the cafeteria and wait for that bell to ring at 7:40. But if it's after 7:40, once they finish breakfast, they go straight to their first period class. And I know this is a little confusing, a lot of information. So on that first day, all I got to do is ask an adult, where do I go? And we will tell you where to go. And after a couple of days, you'll learn the pattern. I'll skip through this again. We already did this. All right, let's talk about parent drop-off. This is an aerial view of the parking lot, Avenue D in the front of the school, and Sagebrush Drive right here. That is our address, 805 Sagebrush. Sagebrush Drive runs right here from Avenue D to this corner right here. That is a city street. It has double yellow lines down the middle. All traffic laws apply when you're driving on that street. It's not until you turn into our parking lot here, or proceed into our car rider lane that you're on school property. So we want to make sure that you're following all those rules. We still want you to follow traffic laws when you turn onto school property, though. Don't want to make you think we're not asking you to do that. You'll see that there are these red X's. Every morning there will be cones placed in these areas to limit traffic flow. We want our traffic flow to be one way around the loop and then back out, and I'll show you where you'll actually be driving. 3 yellow lines here indicate where our crosswalks are. It's important for you to know where those are and where students know where they are so that they can safely cross this lane of traffic. Also here it says grab and go, and that's where our grab and go breakfast and lunch will be set up to deliver those to you, so parents can just drive up and get the meals. I will tell you that when you do the grab and go meals, parents will have to have their student ID. Again, that's just for our remote learners. They'll have to have their student ID of all the students they're picking up for. And if you don't have that student ID, then you'll need their ID number and maybe a birth certificate or something that shows that you are the parent of that student. Okay, but I digress. These yellow areas are our big crosswalks. So this long crosswalk right here is the one that our students use when they're walking to school. So they would come up Avenue D, they'll use this sidewalk, they'll walk down this path to the crosswalk, and they'll cross here. That's why we put the cones there to block traffic. We don't want students having to compete with cars that may not see them, and middle school students don't always pay attention. They could dart out in front of a car. So as you're coming in for drop off in the morning or pick up in the afternoon, make sure you're alert for students' movement as you're driving your car. As if you're coming in from Avenue D, on Avenue D from the Loop 121 direction, you're going to turn right into the parking lot. And if you're coming from Avenue D from the neighborhood, you're going to turn left into the parking lot. And you're going to get into this lane of traffic here. At this point, when you get this far down, you have a choice in the mornings. You can turn into the parking lot here, or you can proceed up through the car loop. If you pull into the parking lot, then you're telling us that you want to pull into a parking space and either walk your student up to the crosswalk or let them walk up to the crosswalk themselves. After you do that, you can proceed back the way you came and out onto Avenue D to exit. If you come through the car rider line, you'll see once you get to that first crosswalk, that's where you enter our drop-off zone. Those are the places we want you to stop and let your student out. When we're doing traffic in the morning, we want you to pull all the way forward. If there's any space in front of you, we want you to pull all the way forward before you let your student out of the car. And in the afternoon, it's much the same. You pull all the way forward, fill up all that space, and then we open the door to let the students into the car. And this helps us to get any traffic that is backed up onto Loop 121 off of the loop as quickly as possible and into our car loop. After you drop off, you just proceed back out of the parking lot. At this corner right here, there is a stop sign. And again, this is Sagebrush Drive. It is a city street. You gotta stop at the stop sign. And then proceed out to Avenue D and on your way. That's arrival. We'll talk about dismissal. You'll see one more, it's much the same with the cones, but there is one more cone over here by the stop sign. We put those cones out there because we don't want parents, once the bell has rung, pulling into the parking lot. We want this, again, to be one-way traffic. And if you've been here before, you know that it does get pretty busy. And we want to make sure that we get you in and out of the parking lot just as quickly as possible. In the afternoons, we dismiss at 3:45. We have cars that will start to stack up and park here very early. Just expect, especially during the first few days of school, for it to be very busy out front. Be patient with us. Our system works really well. We've used it for 9 years, and we will use it into the future as long as the traffic pattern doesn't change out here. It works very well. Just know that you may have to wait in line to pick up your student. It's much the same though. If you're coming from Loop 121, you turn right. If you're coming from Avenue D from the neighborhood, you're going to turn left. You're going to join this lane of traffic. That's one lane of traffic. If you turn left from Avenue D and you want to pull into the parking lot, you can stay to the left and pull past these cars and pull into this parking lot. You can pull in here and here during the dismissal time. Then you would meet your child. They would come across the crosswalk here where our crossing guard will be located in the afternoons, enter your car, and then you leave the way you came. If you proceed through the car loop, again, we are not letting students get in the car before this first crosswalk here. If you're in this area in the front of the school, we will not allow your student to walk down there. So again, this is the loading zone here from the first crosswalk, once you pass the first crosswalk, to the end of the sidewalk here. So you would proceed down, fill up all the spaces that you see, and pull forward until the adults on duty tell you to stop, and then your student can enter your car. Then you will proceed out of the parking lot, stopping at that stop sign. And at the stop sign, of course, people proceeding on the street here, Sagebrush, out of the parking lot, they have the right of way, so you've got to follow all traffic laws again. All right, so there are a lot of differences between elementary school, where most of our parents that are watching this video are bringing their sixth graders to middle school for the first time. So there are a lot of differences we want to highlight and talk about some ways that you can support your sixth grader as they enter these middle school years. If this is your first middle schooler, this will be new to you. And if you've done it before, I think you'll find some wisdom. If you sent some kids to middle school before, you'll find some wisdom in our advice. And if ever you need support, please reach out to us at 215-3000. We'll hook you up with a student's counselor or assistant principal so that we can get you the support you need. But how is middle school different than elementary school? Well, in elementary school, students have a small number of teachers. Usually it's 1 or 2 teachers that teach the different subjects to them. It could be as many as 4, but it's generally not beyond that. Well, in middle school here at South Belton, students are going to have 8 teachers on their schedule. Now, they won't see all 8 teachers every day. They'll see 5 teachers each day, but it's 8 teachers, 8 different courses, 8 classrooms, 8 different classrooms full of students with different cultures, that each classroom kind of takes on its own culture. And so students are going to have to learn that. And then teachers are not robots, so they have different personalities in their classrooms, and what's acceptable in one classroom may not be as acceptable in another classroom. So students are going to have to learn all of those intricacies as well. Being in a bigger building with 8 teachers instead of a maximum of 4 makes it a faster pace of life. Students in middle school take on a lot more responsibility for their work, and they have to keep up with those 8 different courses. And we try to build that responsibility in students by placing that responsibility on their shoulders. They're going to need to be organized, but I like to think of it as almost the same as the difference between living in New York City or living in Belton, Texas. We have to do the same things, but it's just a faster pace of life because there's so much more going on around us. So students have those increased responsibilities. This is an important point here about friends and friend groups. So if you've been in Belton for a long time and you've been at the same elementary school, students have friends that they've made and friend groups that they've made in those elementary schools. And middle school is a time when things change. Students are growing up. A lot of changes are going on for them physically in these next couple of years, and emotionally as well. Their interests will begin to change in middle school. So some students will turn to focus on only academics. Some students will turn to focus on athletics. Some students will turn to focus on art or fine arts. And that's okay. As they develop their different personalities and their different preferences, that things are going to change. When that change happens, the people that they talk to most, the people that they're close to, and the groups of friends that they have may change as well. It's not necessarily a cause for alarm, parents, but I would continue to talk to your students and keep open lines of communications about the students that they're talking to and hanging out with and trying to interact with socially, so that you can ensure that the relationships they're forming are good, healthy relationships for them. And if ever there's a concern, please, again, give us a call, 215-3000. Interest change, I mentioned that. I think that's everything on that side. Okay. Communication with campus is very important during these times. We want to make sure that you know we're going to use all of our available technology to communicate with you. We're going to use a system called Remind. So if you see something come across your text messages that says something about Remind from South Belton Middle School, you know that that is a way that our teachers can communicate with you to give you updates on what's happening in the classroom and in the school. And it's a way that I can send out text messages for quick reminders of what's happening. And I know that text message is usually the most effective way to reach the largest audience nowadays, but we will also use other items like our school email and I have something that's called Skylert, which is a system that helps me send an email to a large group of people. So we want to use the technology to communicate because we know that that's kind of the way that our world works nowadays. Schoology is our main way of communicating between teachers and students. But parents, I encourage you to look over your students' shoulders, let them open up their Chromebook, log into Schoology, and show you what's going on. If you have questions about Schoology, you can certainly call us and we will walk you through it. Again, Schoology is where the assignments are going to be, where the instruction's going to be, where all the requirements are going to be. Skyward is our gradebook system. Skyward allows parents to log in and see students' attendance, their discipline record, and their grades. This is where we post grades. Now, we'll tell you that when a student turns in an assignment, teachers have 5 school days from the day it was turned in to have it graded and put in the gradebook. That is a standard. If that's not happening with your student, then please make sure you give us a call and let us know that. But we want to give you timely feedback so you can track students' grades and support them. And then our email for our teachers is in this format. It's their first name dot last name @bisd.net. And that is the format for all of them. You can find the teachers' first and last names in Skyward in your student's schedule. But if you can't get the information that you need or want from any of these systems, please give us a call. If you're having trouble with passwords, usernames, please give us a call. We want to make sure that you can get in those programs. And be proactive in contacting us. If you think there is a problem, if you know there is a problem, contact us right away. We will investigate to get to the bottom of it. If you think there's a problem, contact us. If you think there might be a problem or a problem might develop, contact us. Be proactive. Let us know what's going on so that we don't let students slip into misbehavior or difficulty that they're going to have trouble recovering from in school. And we will support them in any way we can. A couple other sources of information are Belton ISD website, which is www.bisd.net. And then you can click on schools or hover over schools and it'll pop up with the list of all the schools. Our South Belton website is right over here, right underneath North Belton, just like you'd find it on a map. And there's lots of other information on this website as well. I mentioned the handbook earlier, the parent-student handbook where it says students and families. If you hover over that, it'll give you a link to the code of conduct and the student handbook, which will give you our dress code, which is probably the #1 thing parents want to know right now. And there were some changes to the dress code. I will mention that. And there were some pretty positive changes, less things for us to hassle kids about. And we're really happy about the changes as well. Our Facebook page, it is the one that is titled Official Site of South Belton Middle School. Please follow us there. We also have a Twitter. It's at South Belton MS for South Belton Middle School. Please follow us there. And we have a YouTube channel which will be published soon. And hopefully you're watching this video through the YouTube channel. And one other website we want to mention is anything having to do with athletics can be found on www.beltontigerathletics.com. We're glad you're here. We're looking forward to working with your students this year. We are here to help you and your students, so please contact us if we have any concerns. We cannot wait to get started. It has been 6 months. As of the 8th of September, it will be over 6 months since students have been in the building for school. Again, if you have questions or concerns, our office number is 215-3000. These are the email addresses of our assistant principals, counselors, and our instructional coach, as well as mine. Feel free to email us. I will tell you that once in a while, the first time someone emails us, it's possible that that email gets caught in our spam filter. And we could miss that email. So if you email, give us a reasonable amount of time to respond. And if we don't respond within a reasonable amount of time, I would say 24 hours, then give us a call and let us know that you emailed. Once we go in that spam folder and find that email and whitelist it, forward it to us, or we respond to your email, then future emails will not get caught in the spam folder. All right. If you have questions or concerns about anything that I talked about today, please give us a call. Again, 215-3000. We're so looking forward to having your students back in class starting on Tuesday next week. Let me mention really briefly, we are on a weird schedule for the first 4 weeks of school. The first week of school, students will attend school on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That will be A, B, A, B. Starting the second week of school, students will attend school on Monday, Tuesday. Everyone will be at home on Wednesday for planning, but there will be assignments in Schoology for students to do on that Wednesday. And then they will attend school in person if they're an in-person learner on Thursday and Friday. Wednesdays are also designated as an A or a B day, and I will send out in this email where I included the link to this video, there will be a link to the A-B calendar that'll show you which day we are on. We will also post that around the school so students will know, and we'll remind students. All they'd have to do is ask, are we A or B? If you got questions, again, please give us a call. I know this is a lot of information and some of this stuff is confusing. Our students will learn it as we go. No worries though, don't be nervous. We're not gonna be mean to you if you don't know where to go or what to do on those first few days of school. And then you will learn it during those first few days of school and you won't have this confusion. But you'll find that our culture at South Belton Middle School is very kind and understanding, and we will help you all year long with those expectations. Thanks for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.